Good evening to my co-hosts and to our audience. Good morning, good afternoon, or good night. Welcome back to our podcast, the Anarcho-Syndicalist Film Club. This week's film is How the Grinch Stole Christmas, 2000, selected by today's Pip, Christian. The date is December 12th, and we are 22 weeks into this online experiment. As always, a spoiler alert if you haven't yet watched the film. This week we have a special guest, my brother, Caden.
Hello.
Let's start with some binary opinions on the film. I give it a thumbs up. Sheldon?
Thumbs down.
Yingli?
Thumbs up.
Zara?
Thumbs up.
Caden, your binary opinion.
Thumbs up.
Okay, so we have, I didn't keep track. 4 thumbs up and 1 thumbs down.
Oh God!
Right.
Why am I the contrarian again? I hate this.
We established in the very second episode that you were the contrarian. It's fine. Not all of us can appreciate Jim Carrey face. What do we want to talk about first? What is this film? Yeah, go ahead.
Wait, I have a question because since is this Sheldon's first time? Is this your first time watching it, or is there anyone's? It seems like it's like a common movie. Okay.
This is my first time watching this movie. I've seen other Jim Carrey movies, so this is the first time I've seen Grinch.
So, like, I guess the distinction between all the thumbs uppers and the single thumbs down is it's his first time watching it. Yeah. So I think that might have something to do with it.
So everyone else has watched this before?
I've definitely watched this before. Yeah. I used to watch it like when we would come back to the States for Christmas, and it would just be on TV whenever it aired, and it would be on like season after season. And then for some reason, this movie and the live action version of Cat in the Hat were like very popular in Asia. So my cousins always had it on.
That's interesting. Whereas I really like this film. I absolutely hate Cat in the Hat, and I pin that up as one of my least favorite film of all time, including A Christmas Prince.
Dang, that's intense.
I freaking hate that movie. But
they live in Oh, sorry. They live in like a similar place in my heart. They both scare me deeply to my core now, though.
I really like this movie. Let's get into what this film is about, if anything, or movie, if you want to use that.
Did anyone grow up watching the animated version of this story? I see some nods and some head shakes, but mostly no's. Zara?
I think I remember like bits and pieces, but it's always played in the background because it always plays up on TV, but I never sat down and watched it. The image of the animated Grinch is there, but I don't remember watching it from start to finish.
I
feel like it leans so heavily on that version. And in my household, it was on every Christmas, or like not purposely, it just happened to be on. So that's what I use as a reference against this film.
Yeah, the only exposure I had to this story was the actual Dr. Seuss book. And I had a chance to reread it just prior to watching it. So I did have that fresh in mind going into this movie.
So what is the book about then? And what is the movie about?
I think the both are very obvious in what they're in their message. It's against the commercialization of the Christmas season. The film more so than the book. The book really is about showing how Christmas exists truly, in the hearts of the people celebrating it. It's a communal experience. It's not about the things or the food, all the items. I think the film is a lot more explicit in the way it kind of pushes its anti-commercialization, the line it's making, the position it's making. The movie definitely takes much more of a anti-commercialist view than it does a Christmas is about the communal family experience.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting way to bring it up too because, okay, for me, reading the original book and the animated film, The Grinch is about like just some dude who couldn't appreciate Christmas. You're like, I know that guy. He like lives down the street. He's the one who lives in that house that has a lot of balloons and he flew away and up, it's that guy. But in this movie, the Grinch is Jim Carrey. The Grinch is not. The Grinch is a terrifying creature who eats glass. The Grinch is like somebody who likes to smell like trash. So for me, the like story, sure, it has specific plot points and tales and lessons it's supposed to give, but I differentiate that a lot more with like Whoville than the actual Grinch. Like this Grinch is just a caricature rather than like a mythological creature in a children's educational story like an Aesop fable.
I think what bugged me about, among the many things that bugged me about this film, many things that bugged me about this film.
Is this movie like A Christmas Prince is to Christian for you?
How it made him angry?
Yeah. The sentiment and feeling.
No, I have to think about that. I didn't really I want to compare my viewing experience to Christians. I think since we're on the topic of what this movie means, while, in the book, after the Grinch realizes what he's done wrong, he like stops the sleigh, he brings all this stuff back and returns it to the people. And so there's like, he's doing that because he's sorry for what he's about to do, and he wants to, return the things back to the rightful owners. In this one, I feel like it takes such a hard stance against the commercialization of Christmas. It's so clear about, gifts are meaningless. Gifts are just these little superficial items that we give to each other. It's so hard on that particular aspect, but they still go with let's return all these things to the people anyways. So it's like, for me, it was kind of saying like, okay, the commercialization of Christmas is bad, but once you acknowledge that, then it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine to embrace those practices again and say, all right, we know it's bad, but we still have it anyways. Let's just go ahead. So it just kind of defeated all of that, the heavy-handed messaging throughout the film.
I would second that. That's how I felt when I used to watch this film eons ago when I was much younger. I'd be like, this doesn't make any sense. Why would they go back to having all the presents? They should just get rid of it all. But now that I'm older and I like just see Jim Carrey, I'm like, I don't care.
Yeah, I guess the fact that they took such a heavy stance against gifts and equated commercialism and gifts as the same, which if you think about it, it's really not. It's just how we've commercialized gift and made it the priority of Christmas instead of giving could be in the form of many ways. And that is something that they could have imparted. But I guess that it's just so much easier to digest things when they're black and white. Gifts bad, commercial bad, take it away. But then in the end, like Shelton said, they give it back. So it's okay. If you understand it's bad, you could have it as long as you know it's bad. So using the black and white concept kind of, made the ending much less meaningful.
It's like the Surgeon General's warning on the cigarette box, like, this will give you lung cancer, but we're not going to stop you from having it.
Yeah, I wonder if it could be said that like the original story is more about the cons of materialism. Everybody just owns their own stuff and like has their own needs to do things a certain way, but it wasn't as competitive. There wasn't any comparison between the neighbors of like, they have lights, we don't, they have ham, we don't. Whereas this live action movie is about consumerism and that interaction of like the community with a very like non-community based entity, aka capitalism. And maybe it feels even more disjointed because of that, because there's that sense of like you start the movie and they talk about sales, percents, numbers, things that we don't think about with Christmas. Whereas like the original Grinch story, you see people like having a roast beef in the fridge and you're like, that's pretty normal. I would like some meat. Like, what's the problem with that and having things, right? That feels way more normal.
I feel like the Grinch's attitude towards commercialism is not so genuine, and the film makes that clear. Whereas with Cindy Lou Who, her concerns with the commercial aspect of Christmas is a lot more genuine because she's not, well, we don't really know anything about her other than she wants to know what the true meaning of Christmas is. With the Grinch, I feel like that disdain for what this Christmas culture is all about really stems from not from consumerism in itself, but from his disdain for the town, primarily because he's been an outcast and because Whoville likes to do all the Christmas stuff, and he does not like Whoville. He therefore dislikes. I don't know where I'm taking this. I think it's certainly a film that is sort of like a critique of that consumerist aspect of Christmas, but it's also less about saying this is bad and arguing that why is good and why being the sense of community that should be at the center of Christmas.
Yeah, it reminds me of like genres like what's that horror movie with that guy who like gets drowned in a lake at summer camp?
Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
What's his name? It's Jason, right? Jason like rises and like kills campers in the future, even though they're not related to the people that like hurt him originally. The Grinch has also like similarly unresolved anger at the community and like the state of the world as is. So you could say that consumerism just being a part of that. And yeah, and anything Whoville likes, anything the campers in Camp Crystal like, you know, they all suck. Is basically the attitude as we watch this protagonist that we want to like fail in their goal, aka like the Grinch's ruin Whoville and Jason's kill the campers.
I guess like what Christian said is that he I feel like he's the only one who's aware of the obsession with buying things. So like the Who's are not self-aware of what they've dug themselves into, that they're so deep into wanting to buy things. Like he is an observer because he's up in the mountains and is just able to see the Who's as they are, and what they have become. I don't think he doesn't hate consumerism. He just knows it exists and he makes fun of it, but he's like, yeah, they're in for it. It's bad, but I don't care. I don't think it's bad. It's like, it's just a thing that they do.
Right, because he also lives in the dump. All the trash goes to him and he enjoys the trash. You could say if he was either neutral or pro-consumerism, he'd be like, yeah, go for it, Whoville. I like all your garbage that you send me. It's free and I don't have to work for it. He doesn't really have a stance. He just hates Whoville.
My issue is less about what the Grinch feels and what the film's about. Like, it doesn't matter what the Grinch thinks or not. It's that the filmmakers are showing us that this town is so strongly consumed. Like, it's a horror movie. With that in the mailroom where Cindy almost gets mashed to a pulp. Like they have the ridiculously decorated facade of the town. Everything's just so ridiculously quote unquote Christmassy, in that commercialist way. It doesn't matter that if the Grinch, associates consumerism with the town, and that's the only thing he thinks about. But it's the filmmakers choosing to make this statement that this town is so ridiculously obsessed with the gift giving and the material aspects of Christmas, and they don't follow through completely with that. But like they commit so much of their budget, so much of their time building this environment, and they're so close to finishing that sentence, but they leave it hanging, and they don't give it the appropriate and fulfilling ending for me at least. I just wanted to see
the
the
whole
thing
thing happened pretty fast, right? When what's her name? Lucy Lou?
Cindy Lou.
Oh, Cindy Lou. Who's Lucy? Her mom or something?
That's not her mom, but go ahead.
the lady, right? Cindy just says something about this is not what we need for Christmas. We don't need all of the shebang and shizing. And then the mayor says, "Oh no, you ruined Christmas, blah, blah, blah." And everybody's like, "Yeah, she ruined Christmas." And then her dad steps up. It's like, "I believe my daughter." And then everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, yeah, we believe her." Like that instant. I think that's either says more about the Who's or, trying to move the movie along so they could sing around the tree. But because I haven't read the book, I don't know how fast they were able to convince the Who's that, yeah, Christmas is not about all the decorations and the gifts. It's about community. But in the movie, it just happened in this very instant. And I don't know if it's more about I just attributed that as like the Who's mindset that there's like this mob mentality, whether it's good or bad. Their treatment of the Grinch was also sort of mob mentality. And also when they switched back to saying Christmas is about community, and then they started singing along very instantly. So I just thought maybe that's how the Who's are, and that is actually one of the points of the story.
Okay, so despite sharing the PDF with you guys, I did not reread the thing. But in my memory, there isn't that sort of conversation. I mean, there's no like pariahism in the book, is there? And Cindy Lou doesn't get as much time trying to talk about that stuff. So in Seuss's picture book, it's I mean, arguably even faster because they just come together in the center of the town and start singing their carol, unless something happens that I'm not remembering, Sheldon.
That's the beauty of that story, I think, because it focuses much, much less on that particular aspect that the movie focuses on. It doesn't focus as much on the consumer's part. It focuses on what is the meaning of Christmas. It's the book's interpretation of Christmas is, for instance, is about community and coming together and celebrating each other. And it's a very straightforward and direct line for that.
I think it's a difference in medium, though, in that you can get away with that in a picture book that you wouldn't otherwise get away with in a feature-length film. And so you could argue that, Ron Howard and Universal could, just have redone the 50 pages of Seuss's book, the story exactly the way it was written, but that leaves a lot of questions that viewers would have left, like, why does the Grinch hate Christmas? And in the book, I think it's like he just hates the noise.
No, my main argument is that this film shouldn't have been made
at all.
That it shouldn't exist.
Okay.
We should erase it from existence. And so it doesn't matter, that Ron Howard and whatever other filmmakers had wanted to expand the story. They shouldn't have done it. They should have let things lie, because this was a travesty.
Okay.
I think my score is going down.
I don't think this should have existed, but I still like knowing that it is present. I would not change the world. The fact that it exists, it's given us so much meme quality, so much goodness for quotes for the rest of our lives. This is one of those situations where I feel like it's like the Ford and the horse kind of thing. Like Henry Ford asking people, like, if I'd asked them what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse. Nobody's asking for the Grinch live action movie. I don't know who greenlit this, but now that it's here in our world, I'm not going to say no to it.
Okay, I'll tone down my demand then. I just wish that I could erase it from my memory in particular.
You can go visit that other Jim Carrey movie. What is it? Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, and maybe they can help you there.
Yeah, go find those people, and erase my memory of this movie.
If that film has anything to say, it's just that you'll end up rewatching it anyway. So,
yeah. Oh boy. Then I'll give more money to the filmmakers.
Yeah, exactly.
That one rewatch.
I think Seuss's own sort of insistence that his books not be remade into films and films separate from TV specials gets at, well, I don't know about the other books, but I mean, in a lot of his work, there's sort of like that sort of anti-materialist messaging that is pretty consistent in his desire to keep this away from, the big five studios or what have you. That said, when I'm going into this film, I'm not looking for message. I'm just here to have a good time, which sort of defeats the purpose. But if I were going to The Grinch for a message, I'd hit up the TV special, and I think personally that these different things have their own niches and have their own, roles to play in the entertainment ecosystem. Yeah.
Yeah, there's so many movies that try to tell the same message of Christmas is about community and giving and kindness, and if it's a Christian movie, the birth of Jesus. So yeah, I don't think I ever watch Christmas movies anymore to learn something new or to find the meaning of Christmas. That is why I take all Christmas movies lightly, like this and A Christmas Prince. So yeah, I don't think, also in movies in general, I don't think I go to watch a movie and evaluate the moral / messages of the movies unless it's like completely new and profound. It's probably just a moviegoer thing now. It's just a thing I do.
I mean, I typically do, but I think with this film, it's more of I watched it a bunch when I was like 10 years old. So whenever I do watch it, I just revert back to being 10 years old and not thinking critically about anything, which I think explains my enjoyment.
This is why I asked earlier if Sheldon has watched this movie before, because a lot of the things that we go back to when we're older that we used to love as children, we like it because of the memories and nostalgia attached to that specific movie. It might remind us of a specific Christmas when this was playing and stuff like that. So that's why it might be more enjoyable to, like, it's still has some value versus like watching this as an adult for the first time. So I could never relive that experience and never experience what Sheldon experienced. When did you watch this movie? Friday, Thursday?
Wednesday.
Back last Wednesday night. So I think I might have the same sentiment about another Christmas movie that's that's dear to everyone's heart.
That's a good point. So I do feel that like when I watched this movie when I was a kid, I watched it out of it just being on during Christmas. But when I was a kid, I hated this movie. And now I have come to like it so much more because I can understand everything that's happening. And I just like the whimsy of it. So if we've got all the like A, B, B, A, B, B combinations of people here, people who watched it when they were young and hated it, people who watched it when they were both young and old and like loved it.
We're playing Sheldon. Combinations here.
Yeah. Though I do think, Sheldon, if you had watched it as a kid, you would have also hated it. Knowing you.
I might have been scared by the Grinch if I was watching it.
I was terrified.
He's so funny though.
He's incredibly funny. I think so. If I were in Sheldon's shoes and watched it Wednesday, I think I would have enjoyed it. I mean, I say that as someone who's watched it many times, but I think there's so much about Carrey's performance and the writing that I think are just funny, like momentarily funny.
All the quips and everything. I think I appreciate it more now as an adult that I could catch on to it and hear it, because as a kid it just like blazed and like blew past me. Do you know how much is improvised and how much is written?
There's a lot improvised in this film.
Yeah.
I think the most famous instance is his magic trick with the tablecloth was entirely improvised.
When
he pulls it out and it works,
and then
so he goes back and like messes it up. But also the when he's going through his daily schedule, I believe that's improvised as well.
How about
4 o'clock.
The 4 o'clock. He was going down the mountain with Cindy Lou and Max to return the presents, where the only curse word was said in a PG movie.
When that happened, I was so confused. I was like, how did I watch this as a child and not be like, oh?
What did he say?
I agree with that.
He says, Cindy asks, "Are you okay?" And the Grinch replies, "The sun is bright and the powder's bitchin'. I'm great." He's like, it's after he like slams into the bag of gifts and then like falls onto the hood. But yeah,
I did think that some of the lines, and let me clarify, I use some very generously. Some of the lines were funny, but honestly, I did not enjoy Jim Carrey's performance that much in this movie. I know I was looking at a lot of reviews online, and everyone's talking about, oh, Jim Carrey's putting his all. I agree, he is going all out in this film, but the combination of his cartoonish style with the makeup and the costume making just completely unrecognizable, it didn't work for me. It just seemed horrifying. I like Jim Carrey when he has the when he has those human moments, but he also transforms into this cartoon character. In this one, visually, he was entirely strange. You know, I couldn't relate to the Grinch because of both, appearance and behavior. It was unrelentless in the way that he was behaving. So I just I couldn't relate to him at all. Yeah, it was just it was difficult for me to really.
Sounds like we got our very own Augustus Mayhew in the room.
Maybe.
Funny, I feel the opposite because I can't stand Jim Carrey's performance as a human who's very cartoonish. For some reason, I don't like Ace Ventura. But for some reason, I like it when he doesn't look like a human and then he's very cartoonish. I feel like it, with all the makeup and everything, for some reason, it worked out for me. That's when I could really enjoy his performance. I enjoyed him in like when he was playing The Mask.
I like The Mask, yeah. I think with this one, it's also that he's cartoonish without the aid of the mask's like special effects, because he's limited by his human body. He can't completely contort into the ways that cartoon characters do. So he has that vocal cartoonish performance, but he's still like limited in how much he can actually do and how much the costume allows him to do. And so it kind of put a cap on how far he could take it. And honestly, I think the green was just off-putting. Kind of made me a little nauseous.
I think then they hit their mark if that's the case, Sheldon.
Yeah, but it was more nauseating than funny. I don't know if that's what they're going for. The green combined
keep going.
The green combined with the camera movement, the first 10 minutes of this movie, I had to stop because I was actually feeling nauseous. Like, I'm not joking. I was feeling sick because the camera was moving side to side. We'll get into that later, but
I don't know if it was my internet or was Netflix's version kind of grainy, or it's not very high res.
Mm-hmm. Looked like there was a bit of a fog over it.
Yeah, it was a little like foggy.
Could just be the way that it was filmed too, and we have higher expectations. It's like now if I watch, like what Sheldon was saying, because of like limited CG and that kind of stuff, this has got like a Spy Kids feel. But if you watch Spy Kids, it'd be like, why are all these shots really bad? Why is the camera quality awful? Like, yeah, they're all the same, that same age and same limitation while trying to do something whimsical.
Maybe mine was not fine. Maybe I just came in with the right
Maybe you're just used to, because
Like,
some movies before 2000 had better resolution, but I think they were digitally remastered. I don't know if the copy that we watch was remastered.
Probably not, because the color toning looks a bit flat, which is more typical of unremastered films. And what happens too is when you remaster it, the color, what's it called? The vibrancy increases, but you get sharper edges. So most things seemed realistically fuzzy, like the fingers and that kind of stuff. You can see all the individual hairs. So it's most likely not retouched.
Yeah, that's definitely something I noticed. This was also a $123 million film. Like for 2000, that's a lot of money. Yeah. That's a lot of money to sink into this.
It's just all Jim Carrey. It's all him.
Yeah. So for it to have cost that much and
it cost so much that they kept the town in the back lot and it's still there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they don't want to, dismantle it because you're going to waste some money. And they're making money off of it by making it a thing every Christmas, except for this one.
Oh, well, they spent a lot of money, and I think if I recall correctly, it was the best-selling film of that year, most tickets sold. So
makes sense. Kids movie during Christmas time. Everyone's on break, and the kids want to watch it. Oh, did you all know that we have a repeat of an older teenager playing a young child in this movie? The baby Grinch was played by John Ray Evans when the movie was released. He was 18 years old, and then he died 2 years afterwards.
Oh my god, at 22. That's so sad.
Yeah.
And now I'm not going to be able to see the movie the same way.
Because I thought, for some reason, the kid who played Cindy was also the kid that played Baby Grinch. Then I looked it up. And I was wrong, and it was
they should have done that.
John Ray. Because they sounded similar. It just like slightly. The Baby Grinch just had a higher pitch voice.
Is there something else we want to talk about?
What topic are we on? We kind of drifted around.
I think with my weeks, we've generally drifted around instead of like going through things methodically. Like, okay, we talk about plot, now we're going to talk about music. Now we're going to talk about.
I have many things to talk about.
Yeah. Go shoot. Which one do you want to do? Let's move on to cinematography then, because you brought that up earlier. Yeah.
This nauseating factor, one of many nauseating factors. It's just the camera never stopped. It was we had all these stilted angles, like it was some kind of horror movie. It was going side to side. I was talking to Christian earlier, and he said it was kind of maybe to make the film kind of more cartoony, maybe tie into those elements. But honestly, it was just so much unnecessary camera movement, especially within the first couple minutes, where it's so unnatural to see things at a skewed angle, like normal, regular human beings see the world.
I, for one, liked the camera work. I felt like I was on a roller coaster. And that tilted angle that you mentioned, I do like, and I did note when I was scoring it on my sheet. I was like, I don't know if a movie where things have to be, I don't know, perfectly perpendicular, or I don't know what I'm trying to get at, but I thought
it's a choice that you make.
Yeah.
It's a choice a lot of filmmakers make to have these skewed angles. I think Steven Soderbergh uses a lot of those, and you use it to enhance the story. You use it to make the film give a stronger statement. In this, it was overused. You could use it a couple times, maybe when you're showing the Grinch in his scary, evil ways, to kind of give you a bit more fright or something. But to continuously use it, especially in scenes that are so chaotic, where so much is happening, and the camera is going side to side, like, as you said, you're on a roller coaster. It just was so visually.
When is it being used? I think it's being used when they introduce the Grinch, when Cindy meets the Grinch the first time. Also at the Whovilation, right? When the Grinch is being assaulted by the town. Also when the Grinch is, being traumatized by his classmates and the entire town. So I think there.
You're describing the entire movie, Christian.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
it was used in the post office when Cindy's going to talk to her dad, and the dad's going from across to, like, he's putting mail in the mailboxes. It used in that scene where she's trying to have this heartfelt moment with her dad, and maybe we want some stillness in that relationship, but yet he's on this ladder that's zipping around, and the camera is diagonal and moving, rolling across the screen. Like, I'm trying to focus on these characters having this moment, yet the camera is making me dizzy. Like, it was just painful.
I mean, yeah, but also
it might have been a popular technique at that time.
But I think in that scene, her father's also not really paying attention to her. And so she is trying to have this heartfelt, conversation with him, but he's sort of more busy with trying to get the mail out on time. Their conversation is not, what's important to him at that moment. And I think she can kind of sense that. So I don't know. Maybe I think I'm now just trying to defend it at all costs. But I think it's not being used willy-nilly throughout the film.
Here, I can add a third opinion on this. I think, because I definitely noticed this, and I think that it happens for one reason, which I'll explain later. But the reason it didn't make me nauseous, and I get motion sick pretty easily, is because when they have those scenes, there's only one direction of movement. So even if it's like swirling, it's going to swirl into the same corner of the shot, right? So if there's like tornado-like movement, it shakes or whatever, or it spins, it's still going one way. So if you like aren't staring intently on the screen trying to study it the way that we are, I don't think it has that kind of effect. And the reason that I think this was implemented is, one, because of the times, and a lot of other kids' movies, I feel like, were oversaturated with a lot of this. And I mentioned Spy Kids before as an example. Every movie of that generation that was trying to do something like fun, quirky, like cool outfits, super bright colors, everyone's wearing something insane, like Lava Girl's hair is like, I don't know, bright pink, like stuff like that. So like, it definitely fits the theme of the times. I would not expect anything different. And also something that I've noticed in Dr. Seuss renditions or like film renditions, is that, do you know in like Dr. Seuss books where they have a path, like in the illustrations, a path that winds or does something that physically wouldn't be possible, a road or a shot of a planet from a great distance away? I actually think that it's quite reminiscent of the style of the books. The Grinch itself is not very Seussical in that sense, but it's kind of the same level of whimsy. So I was not put off by it. I think it is a closer tie to some of the other live action stuff, not movies, that has been done for Dr. Seuss. Like there's a Dr. Seuss, what would you call it? It's like a history show that we had on VHS. Oh, my mom knows what it is. In Search of Dr. Seuss, which I loved and I watched like crazy. With what? With Kathy Najimy, says my mom, featured guest. But I used to watch that like crazy, and it was a very straight-laced story. It was just talking about Theodor Geisel, and it had those wacky shots, even though it was mostly aimed at probably not me at like 10 years old watching it. It was probably aimed at like, I don't know, late teens and adults who were interested in the life and times of Theodor Geisel.
I'm on the boat of not noticing at all. I think this goes back to what Yingli said, that it was common amongst the movies that we were watching as children, that I was desensitized to the shakiness and the very, I guess, quote unquote, unique and shots that are, not still. I didn't notice it. I feel like it just made sense for some reason, and I just kind of accepted it and didn't make note of it. I didn't even realize that some of the shots were not perpendicular, or maybe I was just not as observant, but I think it's because there were a lot of movies from that time that had the same techniques and used the same techniques for similar scenes.
And this is a 2000s movie, right? So let's think of the times. Let's think of like the fashion styles. People were into crazy things. Like if you're going to wear a shirt, it's going to be oversized. If you're going to have a pattern, it's going to be huge. But I would say that trend is like, it lives and bleeds into the other art forms that were being developed at that time. Similarly, now, if you're trying to compare a kid's movie or like a live action version of a kid's topic, like the Lorax one that came out that was animated, they don't have the wacky angles, but they have flattened cartoon style. It's got more of a like pastel mix kind of shade to it. The Lorax isn't bright orange like he was in the books. Like we're just seeing in that instance, in my opinion, a reflection of what we think popular media should look like.
I think those are valid points. It doesn't lessen the fact that I felt dizzy and nauseous. I think, evaluating this film 20 years after it was made, I personally did not enjoy the way they used those camera movements, but if you guys want to defend the way they used it, or, find explanations, that's perfectly fine. I just personally did not enjoy that part of the film.
Perfectly fair.
This is our second Ron Howard, James Horner film, which is back-to-back years. So we're going earlier in that relationship.
We should I'll just keep proposing Ron Howard films until we get to the Andy Griffith Show.
I'm going to veto all Ron Howard movies going forward.
Let's move on to design. We want to talk about design. Set design, costume design, hair and makeup, props.
The Academy thinks it's the best. Best in makeup.
What was it competing against? Because if whatever it was didn't have as much hair and makeup, then I would say hands down this wins just because of the quantity of work they had to do.
So in 2000, How the Grinch Stole Christmas was up against other 2000s classics, The Cell and Shadow of the Vampire, which I've never heard of.
Something else?
2 horror films. If you're taking Sheldon's word for 3 horror films.
3 horror films.
I mean, the Shadow of the Vampire has a vampire. I'm assuming they had vampire stuff. Yeah, this definitely, I think this might be one of the most makeup heavy movies that they didn't, I don't think they could have done CGI. Maybe if it was made this year, I think they would have relied more on CGI. But imagine how many hours of makeup each and every single Who had to go through every day, and how big that makeup team was.
Jim Carrey went through 2 hours of makeup. He had to putting on his hair and makeup took 2 hours, and taking it off took an hour. Wow. And that was for his entire body. Yeah. Or I don't know about his entire body. His face.
His
and
exposed
fingers.
body.
Yeah. Well, a lot of it is exposed. The naked for a bit.
And every Who had to have a nose except for Cindy.
So which makes her more likable, I guess, because she looks more human.
Yeah. I
also
think that
dumb.
Is that something a point? The only 2 people who were different in Whoville was the green guy and the girl who hasn't grown into her nose yet. They are technically kind of like outcasts in their own way.
I thought all the children in the flashbacks had normal faces.
Did they?
Yeah, they did.
I thought so. Like Augustus didn't look
normal,
like and Augustus.
We don't see any other child though. That's so weird. The only child we really see, or as far as I remember, was Cindy. Like even there's so many shots in the town.
Yeah, maybe they were just like, we have enough kids. We're not getting any more for the town too. But I could also see it being like it aligns with the story that the Grinch hates Whoville. Therefore, all his antagonists from his past are like the ones most present in Whoville now, aka adults. On a comment on just like how the hair and makeup and everything was done, it just solidifies for me that this is a funny film, not for me to enjoy the people or the morals or the story of the Grinch, because it makes me hate the Who's.
I just thought the makeup was horrifying. No, not horrifying. I thought the hair was a lot of fun. I thought Cindy's hair that like stuck straight up like 3 feet. It was taller than she was or something. I thought that was kind of silly. I did enjoy that. Everyone did have fun hairstyles. When the Grinch shaves the mayor's head with razor, I thought that was funny because his hairstyle was, and they all have like rollers in their hair to keep the little curls up. That was funny. But the little noses were weird.
Yeah, they are.
And the, whatever you call the upper lip, the inflamed upper lip.
Snout.
Kind of looks like a snout, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was Martha May Whoville a fun addition to the story?
She was the quote unquote love interest, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Thought she was stupid.
I think it was a backstory to have more meat in the backstory. Or else his attempts to make the gift wouldn't make sense, I guess. They could have made a different story, but it added some pizzazz in that little backstory that the Grinch had, instead of just being bullied, if that's the only story that they give him. Because there was like a glimmer of hope when he was a kid that didn't really go through. And now in the end, he has a glimmer of hope through Cindy that does eventually go through.
That was dumb how they set us up to dislike her at the start. You know, our first introduction to Martha is she's competing with Cindy's mom with the lighting their house. And we don't really see much of Cindy's mom after that. But the way the film shows us is that, it kind of seems like or Cindy's family is less affluent than Martha. Like they have neighboring houses, but Martha's house is much better decorated. She
has a gun.
Yeah, she has that light dispensing gun. And so I thought that it would kind of set up that dynamic where, Cindy's from this family, and it kind of does. Like her dad's the postman, maybe they're a bit more working class than Martha. And so it kind of sets Martha up as this, the wealthy neighbor who isn't shy about flaunting her wealth. But then all of a sudden, she turns into this character who we're expected to have compassion for. Like we're supposed to be on her side all of a sudden. And at the end of the film, she and the Grinch end up together. So I just didn't like the way they started that character. They completely changed the course of what the audience, or at least I expected from her.
I don't know if we were supposed to be on her side.
I didn't get, or by the end?
No, just in general, like at the beginning or anywhere, because she was painted as someone who, when she was telling the Grinch's story, she didn't want to be associated with the Grinch. Like, I didn't like him. Like no one asked, but I think it was just like a funny add-on. I don't know if we were supposed to be for her or against her, or we were made to feel a certain thing about her.
I think everything she said during that interview was lying to protect her secret attraction to the Grinch. Like she does like say like, oh, I never had a crush on the Grinch, and he's like, I didn't ask about that.
I think that was funny.
Yeah, that was funny. But like that shows that, Martha, and the flashback to the Grinch's youth does show that Martha is really the closest one to being the Grinch's friend before he's destroyed completely by Augustus's actions. So like that flashback shows us that Martha was that bright light in the Grinch's youth and the one that remained in his mind. And even for her, that he remained in her mind for some strange, inexplicable reason as well.
That he's green and strong.
Yeah.
Hairy.
Very hairy, green,
seems like
strong.
a smart one.
Come again?
Like what?
What?
Compared to his cave, looks like all his inventions, which probably were made out of scrap. He looked like the smartest one out of anybody in Whoville.
He was probably.
This is true.
They literally cast the Grinch as like the engineer, who is also disgusting, just like engineers are.
Wow. I mean, there's
Saigon?
some truth to 8
8
a.m. classes in engineering classroom is not the most pleasant smelling environment. So there is truth to that stereotype. From experience, I am not stereotyping. I've experienced this, lived it. I guess it just makes her a quote-unquote complex character, but I didn't feel like I was made to feel one way or the other about Martha.
I don't think the film in that scene established her antagonistically. That might just be me, but I didn't really see that. I just saw, a woman with more expendable income because she doesn't, unlike the Lou-Who's, have 50 children. Being able to afford.
What I learned from her is not to have children. And you have your own Christmas light gun. Right.
What a happy Christmas message.
And she wasn't married either. No. What a good message. You could strive as a female in Whoville in your maybe like 40s alone. And we don't even know if she marries the Grinch. She wasn't married at all. And,
so you're saying that
she was successful.
That Martha is a strong feminist character.
Yes, she's an icon.
She uses her attractiveness to her advantage, which is, all well and good, I think.
Good God.
What is it?
Deeply pained by those.
What is the number in the producers? If you got it, flaunt it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Normally, I would say I agree, but the fact that she like exists mostly as a plot point as a literal trophy wife, like
that's true.
Either the mayor wins her, the Grinch wins her. That makes me hate her. Like she could have existed. She could have been antagonistic, and I'd be like, yeah, cool. Like I don't know. They just want like a sexy woman. I don't know. Put whatever you want in this Grinch movie. It's a mystery to me. But the fact that they like could have gone many ways, and she only exists to add on to the plot of the Grinch as a trophy wife, I'm like, you're wasting your time. I don't want to see this.
I thought, coming off of the start of the movie where we're shown the uber consumerist nature of Whoville and going straight to seeing Martha's house, I kind of instinctively associated her extravagance to that kind of consumerist or the anti-consumerist message of the movie. And so that immediate connection antagonized her in my mind, at least.
Mm-hmm. I think it did for me there too, but then we go into the scene where like Cindy Lou Who is interviewing everybody, and suddenly the attitude for all of the people changes, because when she asked them about the Grinch, nobody is upset. And so for some reason at that point, I felt like the mood switched for all of the like they all had a character personality change, because they were like, oh, we hate the Grinch, but yeah, we'll talk about it to you because you can learn. I don't like those two things don't align for me. So I just gave up on that first impression. Like the first 20 minutes of the movie, I just gave up in my mind. I don't count that.
What does Whoville do the rest of the year when it's not Christmas?
Whoville is, I was thinking about this. Whoville is not the only village on this snowflake, which I had assumed my first 20 times. You see in the background during the Whovilation, the Whoville Army Band. That sort of either indicates that they're in some militaristic police state, and that the army is just, the city police, or that there are like serious diplomatic relations issues to consider.
You think Augustus could lead a police state?
Yeah. Whoa. He's charismatic, and no one expects anything of him.
Wow.
What's the name of that town in Horton Hears a Who? Because those are also Who's, right?
Yes.
I don't think they explicitly named the town in the book.
But
it might also be Whoville, but the setting is very different, and the drawings of the Who's themselves are slightly different. Sometime they look more human in the Grinch.
They're more evolved. Society has progressed.
I will say that like some other Dr. Seuss books are about war. Do you remember that one about butter side up and butter side down? Ring the bell with anybody? Maybe not. It wasn't one of the more famous ones because it was about war.
Nice.
Well, Seuss was a political cartoonist and a serious pacifist. So, yeah. I mean...
So the Who's are in war when they're not in Christmas. That's...
Horton Hears a Who is also set in Whoville.
Yeah.
So just, some other point in time, I guess.
I mean, that is set on a speck of dust, which is different from a snowflake.
It's after the snowflake has landed.
Right. Oh, maybe they mutate. During the summer, the snowflake turns into a speck of dust, and they become entirely different people when the weather changes.
I thought it was going to be water, because
they just all drown.
Snowflake to dust. Yeah, they don't exist during the rest of the seasons. Maybe one winter that is one Who lifetime. So those Who's.
I don't think so, because this is it's their 1000th Whovilation.
I'm
assuming the town has existed for at least 1000 Christmases.
Maybe they're like tardigrades. They just live forever and they eat space. I don't know.
Maybe.
That would explain why they're small and furry. But yeah, apparently in both Horton Hears a Who and How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the town is called Whoville, but they just like, I don't know. It was never addressed in the canon Seuss cinematic and literary universe.
Damn it. I need an explanation. Like, where did they get this concept of Christmas? Who proselytized them, Where does the origin of Christmas in their society?
Maybe Christianity is just the default. There's no need to tap into it. It just like enters you. The Holy Spirit enters.
Yes. It's the air and everything.
It's infectious.
It is. Yeah.
Oh, it's true. Yeah.
Is the Grinch similar to the way Emily was Jesus reincarnate? Do you argue that the Grinch is Jesus in this film?
Who said that? Me? Who's you?
Huh? Oh, I mean, the group that we just generally agreed that Emily was Jesus last week, right?
As a joke?
I think partly as a joke, but we sort of convinced ourselves that Emily was, in fact, Jesus come to spread his love, her love, their love.
I thought God was just playing, who you wouldn't guess who I chose to be Jesus this time.
Yeah.
The opposite of everything, or like at least in background and gender. Jesus,
like your description of it. It's Jesus like was. I can't believe it's not butter. I can't believe she's Jesus.
Okay, if Emily is Jesus, the Who is the Antichrist. What did I say? The Grinch is the Antichrist.
I can believe that. Are we going to be introduced to a new person in the biblical canon every time we watch a Christmas movie?
We could.
Ooh.
We'll see about it. We'll have to watch your films first, and then come to a conclusion in the third week. But I think in the same way the Pharisees sort of turned Jesus into pariah, Augustus May sort of turns the Grinch into Whoville's own pariah, and hates him for the message that he's trying to spread of a community and love, versus by the time of King Herod's reign in Judea, the Pharisees became significantly less focused on focused primarily on keeping Rome off their backs, but also with money laundering schemes and whatnot. And
I mean, yes, in that sense, but Jesus was never mean. Jesus was never.
Jesus went into the temple and shooed the money lenders out of his father's house, smacking people across the face. The same way the Grinch is sort of defiling Martha Lou's car, or Martha May's car.
Christian, this is an uphill battle that will stretch on for millennia.
I'm starting to see the thread. I believe it's there.
Please, Yingli, don't do this.
He doesn't have a dad that's an actual...
But I think, so that miracle birth that Emily had, which sort of cinched the deal last week, I don't know if you could make the same. So this is where it sort of falters, is that you can't apply that because apparently every Who kind of falls on people's doorsteps.
I think this is really hard to make.
But this was, his was particularly miraculous because he was born to a queer couple.
That's true. Yeah. So, you know what I've been wondering? Who in the town was he supposed to be for?
I don't think he was supposed to be for anybody.
I think he ended up
for another town.
Yeah, I think
he might. He who is he supposed to be for? Like, if I thought maybe all babies were just like sprinkled into the town, but someone said, "Oh, it looked like he looks like your boss. Your baby looks like your boss." So there is some deed that was done before the sprinkling of babies for babies to be delivered, right?
Or her boss just, their babies got swapped and she got her boss's baby.
Wait, I was too innocent to understand that. I thought they meant her boss is bald and ugly or something. But now
I was assuming that all of that was, I don't know where to draw the line, but I thought that was just sort of like a metaphor, because when we learn about the birthing situation, it's told to her by the Grinch's biddies, right? And so she tells her, as all Whos are, born.
So where did he come from? Did he just arrive?
He came from God's loins.
The
fruit of nature. But
a freak of nature, I said.
It depends. Or freak of nature.
A fruit.
It depends on. I think it depends on how vast this snowflake is, and the extent to which there are other Whovilles nearby. Whether that diplomatic feature is something to get into or not. It might have been that this, in fact, is not a metaphor, and that children just drift down onto people's doorsteps, and that a strange gust of wind sort of shifted his basket's trajectory from a neighboring town onto.
It must be theirs. So far away with very different weather conditions, because those creatures develop very differently from the Whos. that's why I'm like, who is he from? Like, where was he supposed to end up? Because he looks very different.
Asking all the questions that can't be answered. Like, why does all the trash mysteriously travel
upwards
up against gravity to where the Grinch happens to live? Questions we'll never know.
It's the centrifugal forces of the snowflake spinning through the air. But then I guess
they should pass that information on to Elon Musk for his Hyperloop plans. It will be revolutionary.
Okay.
All right, let's move on.
Oh, Lucy's solo.
Cindy's
solo.
I don't know who the heck Lucy.
I don't think there is a Lucy.
Cindy's solo.
Are you thinking of Lucy in the Sky?
Where are you, Chris?
Maybe she's thinking of Lucy Liu.
Oh, Lucy Liu, maybe.
Cindy's song.
Yes, that was stupid.
That was stupid. I will give you that. I found that incredibly annoying.
There is a phrase, like a musical phrase, and she says she consistently sings it the same way incorrectly. And I think it just irked me. I think it might have been,
Come again?
Look up the lyrics.
And then they had that the soft rock version over the credits.
Oh, I think I noted that the music that plays from the any radio music, Christmas music, it's the similar case for A Christmas Prince, where it's strangely familiar but not quite. It's like a lot of vaguely familiar Christmas music, like music that they just didn't want to pay for, so they decided to make their own.
But they got like legit performers to record these songs. I don't know if
the soundtrack, you mean?
Yeah, they got Bare Naked Ladies. They got In Sync. Yeah. They got Smash Mouth. They got the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. So like they got legit artists to make these songs just for the background, and I guess to sell the soundtrack. But Where Are You Christmas is an awful song. There's a line in the song where it's, where is the laughter? And I'm still asking myself, where is the laughter?
Not with you, apparently.
Yeah. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah. No, that was...
Oh, okay. It's Where Are You Christmas? Why can't I find you? It's that note. Christmas. Why can't I find you? Why have you gone away? I think it's the way she sung that part. It's like I don't know who made her. I think they just let the kids sing. They wanted it to be raw because she's a kid and she's just singing. But they could have fixed that one thing. I think that's just the thing that irked me. The way she said, must find gone away.
Well, we're in agreement on one thing then.
Yeah. I think it could have worked. I think it shaved 4 minutes off the film.
If she didn't
sing. And I'd have been perfectly happier even.
Oh yes.
But I wasn't sure if I chalked that up to my just dislike of child actors, child singers, what have you, or if it was something. But I'm glad you all felt similarly.
Yeah, I think this would have worked if the whole movie was a musical. A
musical?
A musical. In musicals, you use music to further plot, or you can make the movie go long and for characters to express their feelings. Here, it's the only instance that we have a character expressing their inner monologue via music. And
you're
it's
a mean
done
one,
poorly.
Mr. Grinch.
Oh, but that's done so seamlessly. But yeah. There are 2 instances, I guess, for both of the main characters. They get their own solo acts. Then I guess it makes sense.
Well, you're mean when Mr. Grinch comes like from the other animated movie, right? So that I'm like, yeah, you got to put that one in. But this one, this is a horrifying. Just like you come upon the scene and then cry, upset, tears. Why am I here? Mute.
Yeah. I have no defense. But yeah, I have no defense. I'm just gonna stop there.
They also licensed the theme from Chariots of Fire.
Yes.
Which was a significant choice. I don't know how much it cost them, but I thought it was a little unnecessary. It fit the scene, but it was very extra of them.
So I think you mentioned in A Beautiful Mind that you love James Horner's music. What is an example of good James Horner music?
Wrath of Khan.
Okay. Anything else?
Let's see. I think mostly Wrath of Khan.
Okay.
Search for Spock. Okay.
Okay.
Did he do? What's that movie about the Russian? Your guilty pleasure movie, Christian?
Enemy at the Gates. I don't think.
Yeah.
Was that?
Yeah, that was him. And where he ripped off the little motif from, was it Shostakovich or something? But he uses that motif a lot in his music.
Okay, we have Field of Dreams, Aliens, Alien 2, that is, Braveheart, Apollo 13, Avatar, Glory, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
I thought this one was not as bad as Beautiful Mind.
That's fair.
I think mostly because I was too busy holding my vomit down.
Okay. So do we want to chalk up my enjoyment of this film to nostalgia or not? Comparing it to other bad movies like A Christmas Prince or Chicken Girls.
I'm trying to reflect on the comments that you've used for. I know I didn't see Chicken Girls with y'all. But
we should redo that.
Expose yourself again to that. But with Christmas Prince, you said you didn't like it because it seemed like it might be taking itself seriously, and then it was a piece of hot garbage. Would that also maybe apply here, where like aspects of the Grinch are purposely hot garbage, so you feel like it's all good because it fits the tone that they were going for? I could see that being another argument besides nostalgia, but I don't think they're like one or the other. Like 100% nostalgia is going to play into it, right?
Yeah, maybe it has something to. I think there are certain expectations related to genre. This was silly. This was a silly movie, but it was also a comedy. Whereas A Christmas Prince was silly, but not a comedy. It was supposed to be.
So, but like Zara and I, our take on these kind of movies that are definitely not made and genre, you know, like something that has a defined genre and is placed a certain way, but is not meant to be consumed that way, right? It's like same thing with music. You place it in a certain genre, but it doesn't matter. Anybody can consume it, right? Even if The Christmas Prince is a romantic comedy, quote unquote romantic comedy, more of a rom, I guess. The comedy is how bad it is, right? And so even though the writing is not comedy, it still hits as a comedy for me.
I see.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I would characterize, in my opinion, this film as sort of intentional hot garbage.
Yeah, if you spend $123 million dollars.
I mean, there was a lot of care in the hair and makeup and in the props, in the set, obviously.
Okay, maybe hot garbage is the wrong word, but like they are purposely exaggerating things and like being crazy about it, and they're, you know, free to do this. And sure, chalk it up to the 2000s, but also just the exuberance of it all. That to maybe, yeah, not so much hot garbage, but like it's meant to make you feel like, ooh, like jump in your seat or like squirm a bit, in the same way that Cat in the Hat also made a lot of people squirm, and if anything made more people upset, because that story is even farther away from something that like adult themes should be touching. But yeah, there's a lot of care into how wacky this movie is, and that kind of, in my mind, merits it. Some of its positive charm. Big reason why I would like rate it well instead of poorly is because I feel like it's all very intentional, and Jim Carrey feels smart. Like his stupid comedy feels smart in the way that he times it and that kind of stuff. So feels right.
All right. Do we want to close out? Oh, yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I don't think there needs to be nostalgia to enjoy this movie. If you're a person who likes silly things, wacky things, and I think those people would enjoy Jim Carrey's portrayal of the Grinch. You know, just like to have a good time. I don't think you have to necessarily watch this as a child to enjoy it, or I don't think it's like completely just because you were watching it as a child. I think you do like this movie as a movie.
Okay, do we want to close out now? Move on to scores. Unfortunately, Caden will not be getting a vote, but he should vote on January 5th.
Aiden, you should vote on January 5th.
Yes, John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock need all our votes. US needs all our votes. Sheldon.
Give it a 3.5.
I
was thinking about lowering it.
How does fare out versus like compared to all the other films you've rated?
This is higher than Children of the Corn, I believe, but lower than most everything else.
Is it higher than Chicken Girls?
It is higher than Chicken Girls.
Okay.
Wow. The legend of Chicken Girls precedes.
I feel like the Chicken Girls.
I have so many unanswered questions.
It is higher.
I feel like the Chicken Girls production and cast is gonna come for this podcast if they ever hear about it, because we mention it at least once every episode.
They just get free rent.
Yeah. Hey, no bad publicity is.
I know. Yeah, I think we're giving them free rep. Free publicity.
So his 3.5 is still higher than Reefer Madness and The Last Airbender, but the same score for License to Wed. So.
Wow.
Yingli, what is your vote or score?
I give it a 6.
And Zara.
7.
Sheldon, your face.
I make my score negative to drag everything down. No, that's undemocratic.
I ran mine through the spreadsheet, so it's genuine. I give it an 8.25.
Holy shit!
Like I said, I really like this movie.
It passed that 8.
It did.
Good movies, great movies,
which a lot of our movies have not been doing recently. So.
The way that I was thinking about.
Wait, did you rate A Christmas Prince higher than this?
Me?
Sheldon? No, Sheldon.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sheldon did.
I give it a 4.5, I think.
Damn.
That's averages out to 6.1875, which rounds up to 6.25. Which is the same score that we gave A Beautiful Mind, with 2 6.25s in a row.
Wait, were they both directed by the same person? What were we discussing before where they were the same?
Yeah, same director, same composer. Same.
Wow. So it was meant to be.
Same contrarian.
Was it?
I think in general we had similar feelings about the movie, right? Beautiful Mind.
Oh my gosh.
Sheldon's was we
from the same world.
The three of us had around 6 to 7.
Okay.
Sheldon gave it a 4.
Okay.
Whereas,
it's a kind of similar mapping, except for Christian went up for this movie.
Yeah, Sheldon and ours sort of like balanced out the changes, and you guys were sort of similar. Yeah.
All my scores are all about the same. I'm still pondering everything.
What's Caden's score for this? If he had to,
Caden, what is your score if you had to give one?
Oh, so I do get a vote this time.
Informal vote, like
verbal, no,
like the Vatican in the UN.
I mean, I guess 8 for me.
It's a Choi family favorite. That just about wraps up this meeting of the Anarcho-Syndicalist Film Club. There's a lot more to discuss, so please offer your comments using the hashtag ASFC on Facebook, Twitter, or your favorite social media platform. Be sure to join us next week as we discuss Jingle All the Way, 1996. Catch you on the flip side.